I don't think you have to worry about going short. More about going long. When did we start? We should probably wrap it up.
Was your hubby nervous about you doing this? Or?
No, I think he was surprised that I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And then he reminded me that I did do another one before this. I did it with his name is Tom, and he came into the wine bar. I met him through other wine bar owners, and when we opened the wine bar, he wanted to do a spotlight on Hutto Wine Bar, and we did it. And his is on YouTube, and I just totally forgot that I'd done it. Not because Tom's not memorable, because he is. But I didn't really connect the two as of like a
Was that in
podcast
your spot, or did you go to a studio?
It was, yeah. It was right after we opened, and it was in, I have the blue couch now, so we've been able to upgrade all the furniture.
Yes.
Yeah, it was when we had just had those 4 chairs there, and so we set up inside, and it was really a great thing because that day it was just a really busy day, and it was one of those, I think, kind of a blessing so that people could see
that
we're a thriving business.
There you go.
But it was really nice. So he was focusing on his YouTube channel does a lot about Texas wines.
Okay.
And because I feature some Texas wines, and then I'm also a Texas wine bar owner, he wanted to chat.
All right, well, welcome to another Sidewalk Conversations. I am so grateful that you've joined us today, and we have another very interesting guest that I am very much looking forward to introducing you to. But before we get started, I want to tell you about our business because it's our sponsor today, and it's the Hutto Wine Bar in downtown Hutto. And it's got a great environment and great specials, and of course, a very informed, well-mannered, and fun proprietor. So I want you to help me welcome my guest today, Meg Hiney. Thank you for joining us, Meg.
Thank you for that introduction. I was waiting to see who you were talking about with all those adjectives, but I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm a wordsmith, I tell you. Well, one of the things that we want to do on this podcast, and I tend to do it with most of my guests, is I just love the story behind the story. So there is the public persona of Meg and her business and her influence within Hutto. But I want to go back and talk a little bit about kind of your upbringing, how you were raised. And so tell me a little bit about your family, how you were raised, where you were raised, maybe some key influences.
Yeah, I was born in Houston, originally from Fulshire, which is not so little anymore, but it's really near Katy. And when we lived there, I think the town had 250 people in it. Oh my. And now you can buy a home there for a cool $1 million. So
there you go.
Fulshire has really grown up since the last time I was there. I spent the first 10, 11 years of my life there with my dad and my mom and my brother. And we moved to Austin, and I started going to middle school in the Lake Travis School District. And that's where I guess,
oh, wow. So you've been here for a bit.
We've been here for a long time. I won't tell you exactly how long without going into too much detail about me. But yeah, we spent a lot of time here in Austin. So I feel like I'm a Texan, born in Houston, but really raised in Austin, is how I put it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we met because I did a story on your business for Hutto Living magazine, and I'm hoping I say this. We became quick friends along the way.
Yes.
And I'm now a regular participant in your specials and all the things you have going on.
Our wine club member.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to shout out the wine club.
Yes, and you insist on showing me all kinds of new kinds of varieties, and
yes.
I kind of get stuck in my lane, and you keep trying to push the boundaries. Hey, try this.
I do. Yeah.
Tell me how you got in the business.
Yes, when we first moved to Hutto, my husband and I moved here in 2011. And when we moved here, we said, this place needs a wine bar. We need a tasting room. We need a wine bar. Where is this at? Because we're driving to Georgetown. We're going to Fredericksburg. We're going into Austin. So I always like to say that the idea was born 13, 14 years ago when we first moved here. And obviously I didn't take it seriously until about 4 years ago. But that's where the idea for the business came from. But really the passion for wine started when I was really young and watching my dad just kind of take his way through the wine world and explore things that he liked, things that he didn't like. We spent a lot of our time discussing really cool wines from California. And then he was kind of starting to dip into the old world style of wines, that Western Europe type of place. And his love, though, I would definitely say was California wines. And so I kind of picked up on that. And then I became a Cali wine girl myself. And then as I grew up, I realized, well, there's a lot of really cool stuff outside of California. There's some great stuff in Texas and beyond. And so I spent probably...
And I mean, you like when you say that you grew up around wine, I mean, you had your graduation party at a winery, you had your wedding at a
This is true. Yeah, good reminder. So we some sort of celebration always included really, really fine wine. And when I graduated high school, my dad took it upon himself to buy himself a really nice bottle of wine to celebrate my graduation. When I graduated from college, I went to A&M for my undergrad. And we had our party, 2 of my cousins and I had it at the Messina Hoff Winery in Bryan. And then when my husband and I met, we had our wedding at the Spicewood Vineyards out in Spicewood. So wine has definitely always been around a celebration of our lives. So it just kind of made an easy selection when I knew I was ready to kind of go out on my own and start my own business.
And you did this alongside of another full-time job. So this was kind of like you were doing your full-time work and then you were starting
I was
Crazy.
doing software management. I did corporate software management for almost 12, 13 years. It was wild to think that I was going to start a business while I was doing a full-time job, but I get bored really easily. And so it just made sense that I was going to do something that was going to overtax me and my family, financially, emotionally, and physically.
There you go.
But, it's just, that's me. And that's what my husband always he's like, oh, Meg must be bored because she wants to start another business or something.
Now, there's a couple of things about your business that I want to get into. First of all, you have a very unique focus. Like you have decided from early on that you wanted to have a specialized focus for your winery or your wine bar. And it has to do with kind of women in that field. So tell me a little bit about the thinking behind that.
Yeah, I started with that in mind because I come from the tech world and there's a lot of dudes in the tech world. There's a lot of dudes that tell the girls how they should do their job better. And I'm not of the mindset of that kind of person that's like, oh yes, thank you. Please tell me more about how to do my own job. And when I started to get into more wine, I was asking questions of like, who's owning the vineyard? Who's the winemaker? Who's managing the business? And it was just a lot of male names. And I thought, this can't be it. Like there have to be more people out there that look like me, that think like me, that are in this and enjoying their passion of wine. And the moment that I started asking that question, it just exploded. And so there are women everywhere doing super fantastic things. And when I was looking at the wine bar and what's going to make us unique and stand out against other wine bars in the area, I was like, this is it. I want to give women the platform to show their story and their passions, which they do through their wine in a bottle. And I want to take that to the people of Hutto and hopefully further than Hutto. But, start in Hutto, start small, and then grow big.
Well, and you and in your wine bar, you have actually a whole section that if somebody's saying, okay, well, I want to explore these various wineries and wines from women who are in the field, you can go right to a particular place in your store and find them all. Yeah. And there are a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to find our girl wines, as I call them. We have little tags that say crafted by women on all of our by the bottle options. And then on our by the glass menu, we have a plus sign next to all of those that are somehow woman influenced. So when I say woman influenced, it's either owned by a woman, the business is owned by a woman, or it's a female winemaker. And if you're never really sure, you're like, oh, is this owned by a woman or made by a woman? You just ask and we'll tell you. And we have the story for all of them.
Well, and your team, one of the things I like about it is they are so willing to talk to people. Like I won't consider myself a connoisseur. I can tell, a little bit better wine from a cheaper wine, but I am by no means an expert. But your team is takes a lot of joy in helping inform people about wines. And is that intentional?
Oh, absolutely.
Is that part of your pitch?
Yes, it is. I want to make sure that the people that I bring into my team, my wine family, it has as much passion about wine as I do. Now, I always say when I'm hiring new people, what I'm really looking for is, can you hold a conversation and are you friendly? Because those are things that you can't teach. I can teach you how to, use a computer. I can teach you about the different facets of wine. But one of the expectations is that now that you're part of our family, you really need to be able to share these stories and really share things about the wine to encourage customers to hang out longer and to try new things like I do with you.
Yeah.
You know, get to know one customer that comes in regularly enough that you get familiar with their taste, and then you can kind of start helping them branch out, find new things, which is, yeah. So I really do expect that from my staff, and they have done a really fantastic job.
They
because
do.
we
They're
have people
great.
that come in specifically asking for certain people. And so I think that's wonderful. That's really a
Wow.
testament to them, you know, not really to me, but to them to be able
For
to stand
sure.
on their own and handle that without my looking behind their back to make sure, hey, did you know you should offer that? No micromanaging.
Good for you. Well, and it was it wasn't like you had a lot of previous business experience to launch this big business. I got the sense that you had some entrepreneurial gifting and passions, but this was kind of like your first real venture, if I'm remembering right, into starting a business. And then when we went through the story, you told me you learned lesson after lesson after
Yes.
lesson. And so if you had to go back and kind of think about what were some of the things that you just learned from the process of starting a business from scratch?
Document the process. Find somebody who already has a process documented, because that was the biggest problem, is that you start with one entity. You think, let's start at the state level. I have to get my TBC. I have to be able to serve, and I have to purchase and sell wine. Okay, great. That's one. And they make it really easy. They have an online system. And they're like, you have to go to comptroller. You have to go here. Great. Well, then you get to the county, and the county is like, well, we don't have anything like that, but here's a step-by-step process on our website. But it turns out you have to talk to 4 different people to do that. And then we get to the city level, and there's really no roadmap for that. And then sometimes you have to start at the state and go to the city, and then go to the county and go back to the city and then go back to the state. So what I would have loved to have had was, hey, Meg, start here, and then you're going to talk to this person, and you're going to go here. Unfortunately, that's really hard to find, especially having a business that has never been done in Hutto before. Hutto has never had a wine bar, it's never had a tasting room. We have a lot of great bars in Hutto. We have a lot of great restaurants. But when it comes to this specific business venture, nobody had done it before. So there wasn't really any way for me to feel guided through the process. I couldn't go to one person and be like, okay, I've had a really hard day. Tell me what to do tomorrow. That was just something I had to keep going on with myself.
Bless you for your tenaciousness.
Thank you. Yeah, that's one of the really great qualities I get from my dad. That's for sure.
Now, you did along the way build a relationship with the building owner that turned out to be quite serendipitous.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about that a bit.
Yeah, Gracie, she's great. I met her through my best friend, Sarah. Her husband had worked with Gracie in the past. And when I met Gracie, she was in the midst of trying to figure out what she was going to do next with the building that I'm in now. And she had a previous tenant. She knew she wanted to remodel the building. And so I met her at just, what a blessing to meet her at the time that I did, because she hadn't started to tear the building down yet. She really hadn't started actively working on it. I'm sure paperwork wise, yeah, she was on it for sure. She's the kind of gal that's on things. And so for me, I had my business plan. I sat on my business plan for about a year. I was like, but I don't know where to go with this from here. Again, no path, right? There's no guidance to the next step. I met Gracie, I showed her my business plan, and we hit it off immediately. We're great friends now. We're great business partners, because being in her building, I look to her as a mentor too. So, hey, I think I'm starting to consider what the next thing looks like. And she said, well, here's some things you should think about. And so it was just a really wonderful timing to meet her. And then she was super excited about the idea. She loves the fact that the wine bar is where it is. And I think our relationship, business and friendship wise, is going to continue to grow.
Love it.
Yeah, really great girl to meet.
So you have a variety of activities that you do there. It's not just go in, drink your wine. I mean, you have, I happened to fall in on a night where you were doing, I think a trivia night or a bingo night or something. Tell me about some of the.
Yeah, we're trying. We're still in the testing phase of what our events are going to be. One thing we know for sure is people love our bingo nights. We do free bingo.
Amazing.
People love free bingo. You don't have to pay for your card. There's some really cool, prizes for each game, and it's family friendly, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So we're rocking on bingo. We do live music a lot, which is really cool. We have a great patio space, and so we put our musicians out there when the weather is
That's right, because you have
friendly.
that area outside, with picnic tables. And things
so
like
as much of the indoor spaces we have almost the exact amount of space outside on the patio.
Love
so
it.
we're our space is split half and half, which is perfect. We've got picnic tables, great shade trees outside. So we do live music, bingo. I do tasting dinners. So I've offered in the past quite a few options of, there are 3-course dinners, and I have paired wine specifically with each course. So you can kind of enjoy the pairing specifically for one of the times we had like a shrimp crostini, and I had a really great white wine paired with that. And then we have some big like ragu short ribs. Of course, it comes with a big bold red wine, and people enjoy that too. And then just trying to branch out and trying to find other female entrepreneurs that maybe don't have a shop. I like to bring them into the space as well. They can set up their tables and sell their knickknacks and t-shirts.
Well, you did that for me too. When
I did,
had a book signing. You opened up your space for me.
I'm always happy to open up, because that's one of the beauties of having a brick and mortar space, is that I can bring in other people that maybe don't get that level of exposure. I love not only being a platform for female in the wine industry, but just anybody in general that's just trying to get their name out there. You want to come set up for a couple of hours, set up on the patio or inside, just give you an opportunity to share your business and your story with the world. I'm so happy to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's a great vibe for that.
Yeah.
All right. So I know you hate this question because I've had you try to answer before, but I'm sure there are people who are watching who want to know, like, what are some of your favorite wines?
What are some of my favorite wines?
Like if somebody is thinking about, let's pick a price point, let's say. So if somebody's saying between $20 and $40.
$20 and $40. Right now we have a really great Cabernet Sauvignon from California called, actually this one's from Washington. I misspoke. It's called Green Wing, and it's part of the Duckhorn portfolio, which, as you'll remember, is my favorite portfolio. Dan and Margaret started this portfolio back in the 80s, and now they have about 9 wines in their book, which is really cool. And Green Wing was one of them.
I've had it, and it is.
Yeah, it's a really good one, isn't it? That one I think is priced right about $40. And then we've got some really great Côte de Provence rosés that are really fun. I just brought 2 in, and I picked them. I love that type of rosé, but I also picked them because the labels are just really pretty. And I know that sounds silly, but sometimes, if you think about when you go to the store and you're looking for a wine on the shelf, you're going to gravitate towards those labels that are just a little bit more fun, maybe something that speaks to you in that moment. So both of these have really beautiful floral designs on them. One's called Summer in a Bottle, and the other one's called Forever Young. And they're both French rosés, so they're going to have a great, nice, clean finish on them, really like fruit forward. And they're both, I think, priced about $30 a bottle.
Now, what was the one that you gave me in the Wine of the Month Club? I think it was a rosé, and it had like a blue.
Mathiasen.
Yes.
Yes.
So I brought that to a friend's house for dinner this past week, and that was the first thing they said. They said, that is such a cool label.
Yeah, Mathiasen, they do some really cool work. A lot of times their wine, though, can be a little bit higher on the price point, but this one was really comfortably priced, I think around $33. But Mathiasen, they've been making wine for a really long time, really well-known and really well-appreciated wine book. But I wanted to pull that in. I was able to find some at a really nice price point, so I brought that in for the wine club last month. And we're about to do another wine club party next Monday, so you'll have to come in and figure out.
There you go.
I don't ever share secrets beforehand. You know that. I keep everything very close to the vest until the day of the release.
I find it in that little orange bag.
Yeah, right.
All right, let me shift gears a little bit. You are obviously very good at your business, but you also have 2 little girls at home. Well, they're not that little anymore. But...
Oh, no, they're little. Let's keep calling them little, please, because I can't think about them getting much bigger or much older.
So, so you have to manage, family and business. I'm sure that some days it's just crazy, but are there some little tricks, tips that you've learned that, boy, if I can keep this straight, then that seems to work best?
Yes, I would say that I make a really strong point to be at home when they're at home as much as possible. And if I can't be at home with them, then I like to bring them with me to the wine bar just so that we can stay. Yeah, they're there a lot. And against a lot of their will sometimes. So they're like, oh, do we have to go back to the wine bar again? Then we're puddling in the garage on the way to the car. But I really do. I try to take as many opportunities to just be close to them. Yeah. I think back a lot on the times that my brother and I had with our folks and then our grandparents. It was just more of just being around them really made an impact on my life. And so that proximity is really important to me. And then I am really critical about the time that I spend behind the bar and when I'm there. am I doing something that I could probably pass off to one of my staff to do?
Yeah.
Is this something that I really, really need to be here for? Because if not, then I need to go and I need to go get them.
Yeah.
My husband is so supportive. We kind of call ourselves morning and night parents, where I'm the morning parent. He gets to kind of like take his time in the morning, and then he's the evening parent. So right now we have the ability for him to do swim lessons and voice lessons, and then, whatever else is needed in the evening that I can't be there for, which is really wonderful. So
cool.
My support system is great. And my best friend lives next door too. So having her
that
there.
was actually part of wasn't she like?
Yeah. She was part of the whole reason that we have a wine bar in Hutto as
Yes.
well. She's the one that made the connection to Gracie, and, we started this thing together, which is really cool. And she works at the wine bar, whenever we feel like we don't want to spend time together, just the two of us, then she'll be there and I'll be there working somewhere in the office. But yeah, having a strong support system has made it really, really easy. Not easy. Easy is a good way to describe it, but it's not easy because I'm not always there with them when I want to be, but it's definitely much more manageable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about your husband's investment. I mean, it's not just, he hasn't just been, morally supportive. I mean, he's like built stuff in the wine bar.
Yeah. maybe more than he would have wanted to build for the wine bar, but so we have a 30-foot bar that runs down the side of the store, and I did that because I wanted to mimic a lot of what tasting rooms in California and in Italy and France offer you. Right there, the experience is you walk in, you educate on the wine, you pick out what you're going to enjoy, and then you go find somewhere else to sit. There's no bar stools. We're not sitting down. We're not like spending 3 hours at the bar with the server. And when I told him that, we got a quote from somebody, and he said, I can do that for like a third of the price. And I said, put your money where your mouth is, bud, because I've got an opening date. We got to get this done. And so I was there every step of the way. I like to say that I helped build it as well. I mean, but again, he did a lot of the work, and he's my handyman. So I hope none of the tradesmen that I hire is listening, because I always refer to my handyman. So I don't have to be like, well, let me call my husband to figure that out, because that kind of also removes a little bit of my power. And so I say, I have to talk to my handyman and see when he can get out to make that adjustment.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Now, on a more serious note, you've also had your share of challenges of life.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, one of the things that we kind of connected over early on was we are fellow cancer warriors. So
Mm-hmm.
you've had a battle against cancer. However comfortable you feel, how tell me a little bit about how that journey played out for you. Are you now in a good place?
Mm-hmm.
What helped you work through some of those challenges?
Yeah, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, stage 3 breast cancer, when I was 30. I had just had my youngest daughter. She was 8 months when I was diagnosed. Wow. So we had a almost 3-year-old and an 8-month-old at home. And it was a real shock. I knew that I had the BRCA1 gene mutation. So we knew, my husband and I found out right after we got married. We knew that at some point something was going to either occur or we would need to do something preventative. But you never have a time and a date on those things. Yeah. And so when I found my lump, went into the doctor, it was very fast growing, and so immediately was put onto chemotherapy. I did two rounds of chemotherapy that lasted a total of 20 weeks, and then I did another 15 weeks of radiation. I always say I don't remember exactly, because I went into fight mode, and I just was like, whatever they're telling me to do, I'm doing it. I'm not questioning anything. Like, I just had a baby. This is not the thing that's going to keep me from like walking my kids down the aisle if they ask me to one day, And I remember telling my doctors that specifically. I said, am I going to be able to see my kids get married? And they said, if we start treatment now, this won't be the thing that stops you. And so I went through that. I had 3 surgeries after that. I went ahead and I had cancer just in one breast. And so I went ahead and prophylactically took out the other breast, because we're not going to revisit this. And then I had another surgery too, because of the BRCA1. It's not just breast cancer, it's all female reproductive cancers. So, there's, it is what it is. You get handed these cards whenever they're dealt out to you, whenever things start going, and you just do what you have to do to keep surviving, as you know. And so during that process, again, my husband insurmountable support. Took notes on everything, was actually paying attention when the doctors were talking, figuring out when the appointments
Which
were.
is not easy to do.
It's not easy to do.
You're so like overwhelmed emotionally as well.
It was, I know it. And I never say I don't think I could do what he did. Being the patient, I think was the easiest part because I was doing everything that I was told to do. I was like, this is what you need to do to survive and just go do it. And then, but he's the one that's not going through treatment and he's having to watch all of this play out. Plus with the kids at home, and it's, I thank God every day that he was the man that God picked for me. And through all of that, we made it on the other side. And now I'm 5 years later and I go in for every 6 month checkups. I think the type of cancer that I had, I'll see my doctor every 6 months for the rest of my life is what she said. So we just became really good friends, first name basis, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, during that treatment, my dad was also diagnosed with brain cancer. And so he passed away 18 months after he was diagnosed with his glioblastoma. So we shared a doctor's office, which you never want to do with a parent.
No.
We shared a radiation office, which you never want to do with a parent. But it was an experience that I learned a lot from because, again, it brought me so much closer to my dad. We were already very close. Daddy's girl all the way. He raised me like a little boy because I have an older brother. He's like, this is just easy enough to do. She can wear boys' clothes and be a tomboy and do all the sports that Clark's doing. And so we already had a really, really close relationship. And it just kind of felt normal to bring him along. And my brother and I were there to support him, doctor's appointments, treatment appointment, whatever it was. Unfortunately, we lost him in 2020 after all of that, with just 5 years without him, which is really hard to say out loud. But I know that he's here all the time, and we have some really great memories together. He lived with us for a few weeks because, just telling your dad to do something and then him actually listening to you. He didn't want to. He was like, you're my kid. You shouldn't be telling me when to take my medicine. I'm like, well, except you're taking your uppers at night and your downers in day. And so like, you're not good for anybody right now. So that was really special. And he the girls got to spend a lot of good time with him before he eventually passed. But
now there are a number of people, because of my own situation, I have a number of people here who've kind of worked through that same challenge. And I always like to ask them, like, what were some of the keys that helped you survive the most difficult times? Were there some things that you look back on and say, boy, I'm really glad I either had this piece of advice or this thing that I did that helped me work through the most challenging of physical circumstances? Did you have anything like that? Yes,
I got very strong in my faith. I'm Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I'm still practicing. I had Ash Wednesday on Wednesday. And you have to walk around and have people look at you a little interesting, like, something's on your forehead. I got very strong in my faith. I really looked to Mary, Jesus' mother, for a lot of guidance because she was a mother and she was going through something very, very difficult herself, watching her son grow and then his untimely death, right? And so I took a lot from her story of just that perseverance and support and looking and trusting that this is not something that's permanent, but these feelings are real. So feel the feelings you have, but this is just a season. The season after this is going to be something completely different. So I had to keep reminding myself of that nothing that I was experiencing in that moment was going to be permanent, that there was something on the other side waiting for me.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Holding my kids, just having them like sit in my lap because they were still so little, they would want to do that. Now I have a 9 and an almost 7-year-old and they're like touching me with their pinky. They're like, this is good physical contact, Mom. I don't need much else. Thank you. Unless they need something and then the hugs start. But I would have, I had Sadie, my youngest, I would just put her in my lap because that's all I could really do. I couldn't lift her. I couldn't carry her around. I was so physically weak from everything. So I would just plop her down in my lap and she'd eat crackers or whatever, watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. And then with Emily too, she would draw stuff for me. And then I think
I remember you actually when sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
But when I was like in the middle of my treatment and I came into the wine bar one time and I said, I need some encouragement. And I said, what helped you survive? And you said, looking at my kids.
Yeah.
Just knowing that you already referenced it, but knowing that if I get on the other side of this battle, I'll be able to watched them get married. I would be a part of their life, and that provided all kinds of motivation for you, it sounded like.
Absolutely. Yeah, they really were. They were the thing that just said, this is really hard and this is really crappy. I don't know what I can say on this. I was going to say the S word, but I'll keep it to myself. I just had to keep reminding myself that there are things bigger than me in this moment. And I couldn't imagine, I wouldn't let myself imagine them not having me. Right. It's like, because I'm going to be here. I'm going to do this. And so I encourage anybody, if they have, even if it's not kids of their own, if just their spouses, their partners, or whoever it is, there are things outside of you that you will create a very big void if you're not there for. And so that's one of the best ways to keep fighting.
Yeah, and I think that mindset itself is so critical, just to be able to say, it's about more than me, and I'm going to fight for this because it is about more than me. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so when you think about, thank you for sharing that. That was
absolutely.
really, really great. As you think about your future, kind of what are you looking forward to?
Oh,
you got other things on the horizon?
So I have so many things in my head that some of them are on paper and some of them are not. None of the thing is officially started yet. I created a vision board this year, which I've never done. I was outside of my comfort zone with that because it's like pictures of things you think might happen or that might want to happen. It was definitely not a Meg thing to do, but I did it, which I'm really glad. And I have it up in my office. So I see it every single day. I see the things that I have planned out. And I was actually at a little panel discussion on Tuesday for Hutto entrepreneurs and business owners. And one of the panelists asked me afterwards, he said, what does Hutto Wine Bar 2.0 look like? And I said, I got to get to 1.5 first. I have a 1.5 plan, but there is a 2.0 plan. And definitely this isn't it. There's definitely going to be more coming. It just takes a little bit of time and resources. As you know, things take resources, including money and time myself, So one of the things that I'm doing right now to prepare for all of the things that are coming is setting up a really great team at the wine bar. So I have a manager in training right now. She's doing fantastic. And then once I feel like I can not be there every day, then the next things really start. Right?
Can you give us a sneak peek maybe? Or
there may be something that looks a lot like HWB, maybe somewhere else. Or there might be something that has to do with sports somewhere else. I don't want to put too much out there because what I have also found is the moment that you say something out loud, people, that's what they want to know about. Well, when is that going to, when can we expect that to happen? And so one of the lessons learned of being an entrepreneur and a business owner is that until you know for sure, please don't share dates.
I do remember that. Like when we had done the magazine, it was like, okay, this is going to be like our date. And I think it was like 3 months later.
Yeah. I know. I know what a bummer that was, but it's that's another thing about there's no roadmap, and so there's no timeline either. It's like now you know who to talk to, but you have to wait for them to respond. You can ask the question, but waiting for that response is kind of what lags out. I think we were supposed to open like in summer of 2023, and then October of 2023, and then December of 2023, and then finally in February of 2024 we opened. So lesson learned.
Yeah, right at the right time.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Do you find yourself with a life theme, life message that kind of provides your true north and how you kind of think about life and how you want to live your life? Is there something like that you kind of use as a guiding principle or maybe a life message?
I don't ever let no be the first and final answer. You can have it as your first answer, but it shouldn't be the final answer that you accept. I think that every no is an opportunity for a discussion and an understanding of why you would react with a no first. And I think anybody that wants to go into business, that's the thing that you have to learn immediately. You cannot accept no, because if you accept no, everything will stop. And you can tell yourself no, or it can be an external no. So I never let no be the first and final answer.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a fun time to have this conversation. Thank you for saying yes.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining us. It's been so good to have you. Please join us again on our next Sidewalk Conversations.